make sure that we're recording. Okay, welcome to Wisdom on the Front Porch. And today our front porch is on Zoom. That's why you're watching. And I thank you for being here. You might be listening to this on Spotify or Amazon or Apple. I think those are the ones. I'm just new at these new platforms we have here, but I thank you, our audience, for listening. And today I'm going to talk with Dell Young. So Dell, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and who you do it for.
Well, thank you, LS, for having me on the show, first of all. My name is Dale Young. I live on the west side of Fort Worth, Texas, kind of halfway between Fort Worth and Weatherford, if for those Texas folks that know where I'm talking about. I moved over to this side of town about 3 years ago when I married my new bride, and she was kind of plugged into this side of the community, and so I decided if I was going to get married to her and make a life, I needed to be over here on this side of town. So that's when I moved over. Um, I've really enjoyed Fort Worth, by the way. It's really a lot more relaxed than McKinney, where I was before. So,
Oh, good,
yeah.
good.
But I'm a Christian. God has had me following his paths for probably a couple of dozen years now, and some people have actually called me a pastor, which I think is a high compliment. But I'm not a pastor. I've just studied the Bible quite a bit, and my job is coaching. I'm semi-retired. I'm retired out of the IT profession, so I did a lot of computer work early. But I've gotten into coaching. I really enjoy coaching. I really enjoy helping people and helping them get to the results that they want to get. And in the last few years, I've really changed my business around to basically work with Christian entrepreneurs that want to build their business, but build it on a biblical foundation. And so they
Okay.
really want to bring both their business and their faith together. And so I talk a lot about aligning their business and faith. And so that's where I'm focused on currently, and that's where I'm trying to grow my coaching business.
Oh, good for you. Good for you. So, what made you decide to go into this field? I mean, of all the things you could be doing, I'm assuming you worked for somebody for a number of years and then you went and ventured on your own, or is that right? Or am I
Yeah,
am I
it
off?
it it was definitely part of that, but it was also definitely a long journey out onto my own.
Oh,
I actually
wow.
worked. I got my first coaching client in 2011. I really loved it. It was a God journey how I got into it. I'd heard about life coaching and said, well, that's interesting, and I looked into it, but I didn't find any spiritual connection when I was
Hmm.
looking. And a couple of years later, I'm walking through half price books, and this book just kind of jumps off the shelf at me.
Oh,
And the book is called Christian Coaching. I just,
well, is that something?
and it was like, okay, I guess this is what I've been looking for, thank you, God, right? And so I devoured that book, and that led me down a path where I started taking coach training. Got my first client, like I said, in 2011. But really, I was a director at a company at the time, and it wasn't something where I could just step away. So
Okay.
after about five years, I was at a point where they said, "Okay, we think we can make this change, and we think it's going to work." And I said, "Well, okay, let's give it a shot." So I went to part-time in the whole IT side of things, and really started focusing on building my coaching business at that point. But
Oh,
it was
wow.
actually another 5 years before I could actually get out of IT completely. So
Oh, isn't that something? Wow,
yeah.
that is a
So it
journey.
was a long, slow build up and get out and actually take the plunge. But
Yeah.
I've learned a lot about entrepreneurism, about small businesses, about how they grow, helping people with marketing, with technology, with all the
Good.
startup kinds of things, from the business side, while also
Yeah.
helping them with the faith side. Are they actually listening to God, following God, doing what God wants them to do?
Yeah, because it's so easy to get focused on I have to work all these hours. I have to get this much money coming in. I have to do all of this and it's like, God will sit over here and say, "Okay, I'm here where you need me, but I'm not going to just force my way in until you're ready, because even as parents, we know if we start yammering on to our kids about stuff, they're not going to listen if they're not ready to listen.
Exactly.
And yeah, so where we learn that? We learned that from our father.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
always
really
always
good.
like the phrase that God could have built robots instead of people, at any
Yeah,
point, So, and God doesn't need us, but He wants us, and that's one of the great
yeah,
mysteries, as far as I'm concerned. He wants a relationship with us,
yeah.
and that's so huge in my life that He wants that relationship.
Oh, I know, watch some of these shows about, superheroes and whatnot, and they show, the demigods and all of those that are up there and whatnot, and all you're just puny people, and it's like, wow, I'm so glad my God is not like that. And it's
Yeah,
like, can you imagine that that would just be so hard? You would feel like you have no choice. And I know sometimes we as humans feel like we don't have a choice on some things, but we do have a choice on how we react, how we act, how we think about things, and God gives us a choice to listen to Him or not listen to Him. He's there. We can say yes or no. It's up to
exactly.
us. He's not going to force his way in there. And that gets a little confusing. And it's like, well, why aren't you helping me? And it's like, well, you never asked for my help. You said you
Hmm.
didn't want it earlier, Can't you read my mind? It's like, doesn't work that way, you know. And he's not our genie in a bottle that, we just come out and rub every time we want something. That doesn't work that way either.
That's
But
right.
I mean, yeah, it's just interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. One of my
Yeah.
favorite phrases is that God cares more about our calling than our comfort,
Yes.
and
And that
so
can
we
sound
get,
scary to people too.
it does sound scary, but I mean, comfort zones, most of the time, comfort zones are just ruts, right?
Yeah,
And ruts degrade over time,
they
and that
do.
comfort zone isn't as comfortable as it used to be, but you're just not quite aware of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And
that's
so
right. What does
you
Les
gotta,
Brown always say? He says you've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable because that's where the growth is. That's where the
Mhm.
change happens. That's where you're really reaching people and you're doing things. So if you have a business, you want customers. You want to do these things that you haven't done so you can keep going on and keep serving them. Because, if you sell them a hot dog once, they may come back for another hot dog. But hey, wouldn't you like to rather have this brat or maybe have, all the fixings that go on it, or maybe you want to play the beans with it or something, you keep growing and yeah, you always find me in this back alley with my little thing, but now I'm going to go out to the stadium to be there, and things like that. That's kind of a simple way to put it. But
Yeah,
you keep growing and you can't just stay in one spot because nothing happens when you stay in one spot, except
exactly.
you're staying there. That's the only thing that's happening. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you mentioning hot dogs, that's one of the great examples I'll always remember about
Oh,
entrepreneurism versus working for a big company, right? When you work for a big company, you're essentially working for one boss, right?
right.
And that boss has control over your finances. They can fire you, they can give you a raise,
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
Okay. But if you're selling hot dogs, and let's say you sell 200 hot dogs a day, right? You lose one customer. Well, tomorrow you may still have 199 customers, and you only have to go out and get one more to get that hot dog
That's
replaced,
right. That's
type of
right.
thing. So it's not quite that simple, but it's a
Yeah,
good illustration.
it is. That's a good way to put it. Maybe that's why I thought of hot dogs. I don't know. I'm not a hot dog fan, so I don't know. But yeah, that's very true. And if you lose the one customer, it's like, tell your friends about it. If this is the best hot dog you've ever had, you're gonna tell other people about it. If it's not a very good hot dog, you're gonna tell other people about it. So you
Mhm.
just want to make sure that you give your best, that's for sure. And hot dogs are hot dogs, but maybe you found a way that people can really enjoy them. Maybe you have tables and music and stuff like that. You have drinks to go with, who knows? Anyways, that's enough about that. So, so here you are, you're part-time, you've got 10 years down that you're working your business and you finally make the leap. you go from working for somebody to definitely working for yourself. How did you manage that transition? How did you do it? I mean, some people I've talked to, it's like, oh, you're laid off. Oh, we're closing down the company and things like that. Is that what happened with you too?
Uh, in a fairly minor way, okay. I'll
Mm.
tell you that I had been an entrepreneur back in 2000. I'd been part of a startup company. It was in the tech space. I was actually VP of the company, so I was
Oh,
number two.
nice.
And the company, we started with 10 employees, and we started in a field. We'd all been working in that field already. We had the customers, we had the relationships. We actually
Nice.
even had a pipeline, and
Oh,
we actually hit the ground running. And that first year, we went from basically nothing. We didn't have a whole lot of funding. I think it was like $5,000 of friends and family money type of thing. We actually cleared multiple millions of dollars in product. We were
nice.
actually moving Sun Microsystems hardware at the time, and we were doing operating system and database consulting on top of that. And in that first year, we actually hit number 10 on the Entrepreneur magazine, fastest growing companies in the
Oh,
US.
wonderful.
Okay.
Oh,
And then
congratulations.
and then I think actually 2002 was actually a bigger thing. We hit number 23, but that was after we had already been established. We opened up a Houston market and all kinds of things like that. And so we hit number 23, and I think that was actually harder to do than the first year. And 2004, we had to shut it down to avoid bankruptcy because we had legal strikes and
Mm,
legal issues about who owned what and all kinds of other things like that. So the company had not been set up on the right financial footing
there you
and the
go.
right
Yeah.
control footing to start with. Okay, so I was on a wild ride there. And so I had
Yeah.
actually adopted a mindset of being in charge of my own destiny way back at that point.
Okay.
So when I went to work for this company in 2000, late 2004, uh, it was like I'm running this area, this department. Uh, I didn't necessarily have the official title or the official salary, but I was acting like it, and
Right.
you know, and so it actually worked out well. I actually sold a $1 million contract in 2000. Actually, in 2006, did a project and we got in doing some managed services stuff. In
Oh, good.
2007, that contract went annual for $1 million a year. And the
Wow.
company I was working for was basically a $12 million revenue. So we were like the huge component of their revenue for that year.
Wow.
And so they gave me a lot of leeway. And so
Yeah,
as
they
part of that, it was like,
would.
I felt like I was working for myself in many ways all the way through. But it was still a little bit of a shock in 2021. And it was something I'd been preparing for quite a while. So I've been treating my coaching business as my job, my primary
Mm,
income earner. The part-time stuff I was doing in the IT world, it was just kind of a sideline. It was just one component of the job I was doing.
right.
So, and I guess really that started in 2016 when I switched to part-time. And the other big thing that happened in 2016 at about the same time was my divorce from my first wife was filed.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
And it was like, 2 weeks later that we have the conversation about me going to part-time in my IT career, So I mean, it was a little bit of a shock. And it was through that process, through that shock and through the working through that, I had heard already from from a friend, from a mentor that he said, when something like this happens, talking about the divorce, when something like this
Mhm.
happens, you can either get bitter or you can get better.
Right.
And
Right.
the way to get better is to lean into the Lord.
Yeah.
And so I've
Oh,
been
yeah.
leaning into the Lord through that whole process. And so I just kept doing that. And, basically he led me through that section. And it was like, okay, this is what you've opened the door for me to go into the coaching world. I'm going to just embrace it full time and go for it. And
Yeah.
so that's when I started networking and that was all in person at that time.
Right.
But started doing stuff more on Zoom. A lot of my coaching was on Zoom. I remember
Okay.
in 2019, I coached some people that were in Germany. They were American citizens, but they were living in Germany, and I coached them through some coaching processes and such like that.
Oh,
So,
nice.
so it
Nice.
was like, this is really cool. So when COVID happened in 2020, it was like, okay, this is no big deal for me, and I'm
Yeah,
already
you were
doing.
already doing it. Yeah.
Matter of fact, I looked it up the other day. I've had a paid Zoom account since 2015. So
Oh, isn't that something? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Wow. That's really cool though. Yeah. So you've seen a lot of changes
I
going
have
in the
seen a lot of
industry with
changes.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
wh-
But
what's
I think
what's
the
your
biggest
your
change that
take
I've
on it?
seen,
Yeah.
the biggest change that I've seen here recently is that it really does seem to be a movement in the work world where some people are really leaning into the faith component.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
some big organizations like Faith Driven Entrepreneur that are
Yeah.
out there.
Life on
There's
fire.
yeah, it's like there's something happening there, and so I want to be part of that. I want to be one of the components of that, so to speak. And
That's
so
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, if
that's
you're
where I
gonna
really
think
decided to
big.
focus. Yeah, well, I mean, might as well. I mean,
Yeah.
got a big God behind me, so I can
There you go. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
actually I got a big God all around me,
All
and
of
he
it.
better be in front of
Yeah.
me is where he's gonna be. So,
That's right. That's right. Yeah. In fact, I was talking about thinking big. One of the books I'm reading right now is called The Magic of Thinking Big.
mhm.
And and yeah, we just, we don't realize just how big we really can think and achieve. And it's not some pipe dream. It's not some, yeah, that'd be nice if, type thing. It's like, it's achievable, very achievable. We
Mhm.
just need to first believe we can do it because that's our biggest stopper right there, and then go for it. So, as a coach, I'm going to ask you, as a coach, someone comes up to you, what do they say to you?
Well, I need a little bit more context than that. What, I
Okay,
mean,
so
is that
so I
something
hear you're a
where,
coach. What kind of coaching do you do, and what are you going to do for me? Because that's really
yeah.
what we want to know.
So the shortest way that I say it, and it kind of depends on, what's the
Hmm.
circumstance? Are they looking for just a quick answer or whatever? But
Right.
the shortest way I say it is, I'm called to inspire calling. And
Ah,
I inspire calling with inside Christian entrepreneurs to help them build a business that is a kingdom-based business.
right. So, do you mostly work with new entrepreneurs, or do you work with entrepreneurs that are established, but they just can't seem to be going further? They're kind of stuck,
I won't say that it's an either or. I do a both and.
both and.
Now,
Nice,
I mean,
nice.
it's like almost every either or I come into, it's like, well, God's both and, so I
Yeah.
want to be both and as well. I
Yeah.
have worked, you know, I'll tell you about two different clients that I've got. One client, her name's Sam. She had self-published 16 books when I met her.
Oh, wow.
Met her on a cruise in 2019, early 2019, and she was burned out. She said, "This is what I'm doing is not working." She was owner of a magazine,
Okay.
local magazine thing, and so she said, I'm burned out. This isn't working. God has something else for me. I don't know what it is." And I said, well, why don't you go through this process that I've got? It'll help you figure out exactly how God wired you and how you can
Oh,
plug into
cool.
that. And
Yeah.
so she did that. We went through that process, and she got that finished. And we talked about, okay, well, what could you do instead? What would work better? What would work with
Yeah.
your strengths and your talents here? And so she set up a virtual administration company.
Oh,
And
nice.
she named it Your Admin Ninja. Now, the reason she named it that is that she had worked as a admin in an office many years before, and one of the people, she had like five different people that she worked for, right? And one of the people, she was walking down the hall one day, and this person was coming towards her, and the person said, "Hey, those reports that are due, in a couple of days, could you have them on my desk a little bit later today?" And she said, "Well, they're already there." Because they were standard reports that needed to be done anyway. So she already
Right.
had them done, had them on her desk, and she said, and so her boss said, "Well, aren't you just like a little ninja?" And
Oh,
so,
there you go.
so she had named her company Your Admin Ninja.
I
And
love
so
that.
anyway, she started that with nothing basically except herself, and she just had some word mouth referrals, and that was April 1st of 2019. So she's
Okay.
now gone over, what is it, 5 years now, 5.5 years. She is doing great. She has 16 people that work for her,
Oh,
16 people that
wow.
work for her. She's got like 35 clients nationwide, and she is just knocking it out of the park. And I've coached her all the way through on stuff and helped her with her team and such like that. And now I'm helping her figure out how does she get out of doing the day-to-day work herself so that she can
Yeah.
go work on her passion project.
There you
Right.
go. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
one where I was working with a brand new entrepreneur. Okay. On the other hand, I met another guy, and he does geofencing. Okay. So he actually helps companies set up, like if you're going to have this event, you can do the geofence, and you'll be able to collect information about the people there and such like that,
Oh,
all on the
okay.
internet.
I've never heard
Okay.
of that before.
Yeah. Well, it's a thing.
Yeah, I believe
And
it.
so anyway, he'd had a pretty successful company. He had one assistant that was doing a lot of the work with him and all that sort of
Uh-huh.
stuff. And he went through basically the same process that she did. And he got so much clarity. He was struggling with, okay, there's stuff going on at church, and there's stuff going on with my family, and there's stuff going on in the business. And I don't know if I want to grow the business. I don't know how to grow the business and all this sort of stuff. And so we got through all that, worked through some other stuff. Well, now he's in this mode where he's added three more people to his business. It's grown tremendously,
Wow.
and his family life has stabilized and gotten everything out really well. And uh, he's being asked to consider being an elder at his church.
Oh,
Okay.
nice. Nice.
And
So it's
so,
it's gone
so
beyond just the business. That's awesome.
yeah, exactly. So, and that's the kind of thing I really love to help people with, is that we are not just we're not just a work component, and we can't
Yes.
separate that from our family, and we can't separate that from our spiritual life and such like that. And so,
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
being able to
definitely.
work with people, of course, you got to have some time with together and build up some trust over some time.
Right.
But it's worked really well for a whole bunch of my clients.
Oh, that's awesome. I love hearing that. That's
Yeah,
really good. I mean, it's because you can help somebody who says, I have this idea. This is what I feel that my purpose, my calling is, but I don't know how to implement it. What are the steps I take, and what are the solid foundations I need to make sure that I'm not skipping things, that I'm not jumping too far ahead so I can protect my company too. Um, that's really good. And then you've got the companies who are already established, and it's like, I know there's got to be a different way of doing this, a better way of doing it, or a different process, or I'm at a point I don't know how to get it past this level. That's really great. So, have you written any books? I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs do write books just to let people know your book is your business card anymore.
that's right. So I did write my own book back in 2020, and the book is called The Identity Key,
Oh,
and it talks
yeah.
about a lot of assessments, because I'm kind of an assessment junkie anyway.
Okay.
That's number one. But I always felt like people didn't really understand how different assessments fit together and how you could use them in combination sometimes and things like that. And so I
Yeah, so
give a kind
how
of,
do you do that? I mean, you think
well,
assessments are just these tests you take to say whether you can do this or you can't do this or something, but
well,
that's not
there's
really it, is it?
there's no magic bullet, first of all, okay?
There you go.
It's always better to be coached through an assessment,
Mhm.
okay? But
That's
the
good.
two that I really love right now, and one of them wasn't even out when I put out the book, is The Working Genius. It's from Patrick Lencioni. He wrote The Five Dysfunctions of a Team, The Ideal Team Player, and The
Okay.
Six Types of Working Genius. And it's and about a dozen other books, kind of thing. So he's really big on teamwork. And The Working Genius is really how different people approach work differently. And so anyway, you put it all together and you do the assessment for your team, and you see how the people are going to work together and how they're going to. Some people are going to be thinkers and be coming up with ideas and solutions, and
Right,
other people
right.
are going to be more implementers. They're actually going to be doing all the details. And then there's a big piece in the middle that are called activators, and they're the ones that make sure that the ideas are good and get people all moving towards implementing those ideas.
Okay,
Type of
good.
thing.
I
So
love that.
yeah,
Everybody's just a team there,
right.
and I remember hearing about that if you have a team member who's maybe not doing as well, is find out what they like, find out what they're all
Hmm.
about. And I actually heard this
Hmm.
from someone who had a boss, and the boss would they'd say, the boss, this person just isn't fitting, I think we need to fire. And the boss says, well, let me go find out what he likes to do. And they're like, why would you do that? Because once he found out what that person was like, he actually had found he would be better in this other position where they did need help. And sure enough, the guy thrived. Not only did he thrive, but the business began to really do so much better because
Yeah,
they finally had someone there who loved doing it, who knew what to do, who knew how to think the right way. So even if you're working on as an entrepreneur, maybe you need to help find somebody who can help you through this part, because we don't ever do it by ourselves. If we did
right.
it by ourselves, we wouldn't need customers, you
That's
know.
right.
That's
That's right.
you've got to have customers. You've got to
Hmm.
have your coach, your mentor, people helping you. You talk with other people. How did you do this? What were some of the things you went through? It's
Hmm.
why we network with each other, is to find out more about each other. And it's like, well, hey, this person knows how to do this really well. You should go talk to them. Um,
Right.
and
Well,
one of the networking groups I go to talking about ninjas, it started out that it was ninja networking. And I love that because this thought comes to your mind that you've got someone who's really effective here, who's able to just tackle all of it. So I love that she put that ninja title in hers.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, human beings are not designed to be alone, right? We're
No,
designed to
yeah,
be in community. And community is one of the pillars of my coaching system. I talk about we always need to be in community. We need to be community around our family, our church, our service, wherever we're at, we're in community.
right.
And that goes double for work or triple for work because
Yeah,
sometimes you got the vendors, you got the
that's
customers, you
right.
got all the other
Yeah.
people
You
that you're
have the
interacting with at
janitors,
work.
the lunch lady. I mean, you've got a lot of other people involved there.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So yeah. So Working Genius was one of the assessments. The other one I love is the CliftonStrengths. Now it's a
Okay.
whole lot more detailed. It's got 34 talents and just gives you a list of how you show up with those. And but it takes a lot more to unpack it and get it going. For the people that take the time and spend the money, it can be incredibly valuable. That was what Sam did. The lady that I helped set
Hmm.
up your Admin Ninja. Uh, that's what
Right.
John, that's what John did. The guy that does the geofencing. They both went through that process. But
Nice.
that's like 5 coaching sessions, and it's really in depth, and you got to put some effort into that one. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So
and
Working
and you do
Genius
it
is
because it gets clarity.
exactly.
You're able to get, once you get that clarity of like, yeah, this is really, these are my talents. because maybe we don't know, maybe we think we know, and we
Mhm.
take it and it's like, wow, I didn't realize I could do this other stuff. But once you've got all of that, then it's like, okay, I have all the tools. Now, how do I use them? And that's where you come in is
That's
I'm your
right.
coach. I'm going to show you how to use these tools and use them effectively. And you may even find better ways to use them.
Exactly. Just like with Sam,
Yeah,
she was stuck doing something that she didn't really love, which was communication and the strength and the Clifton strengths. And it was kind of midway. She could do it, but it wasn't giving her a lot of energy.
right.
But she really loved helping people. She really loved assisting and getting people moving forward and everything like that. So really did work out a lot better for her. So,
Oh, that's
um,
awesome. That's
so
really awesome. I'm
anyway,
glad to hear
so
that.
getting back to books, though, I've been part of a couple of compilation books as
Awesome.
well. One was Next Level Your Life, came out in
Oh,
January of 2023. Hit
nice.
Amazon #1 bestseller in 31 categories. Uh,
Wow.
and then was also in the Transformational Journey
Oh,
with another
nice.
40 people. This one came out in October of 2023 and hit Amazon #1 bestseller in 60 categories. So
Whoa.
it's been that one was like a record that
Yeah.
and all the stuff that we've done here. So yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's
And
good. Yeah,
both
I
of
think.
those have chapters that I wrote, and
Hmm.
if people will email me, I'll be happy to send them a copy of the chapter. I
Okay.
can I
Oh,
can
good.
distribute that for free.
Good.
So yeah,
Yeah. I
uh,
actually I bought the book, so
yeah,
I like the books. And it's great because you've got your chapter in there, but when you buy the book, then you have all of these other people who are talking about what they've done and how they've did it. So it's not just, oh wow, look at me, my success. It's not that at all. In fact, the chapter that you wrote is very good. It takes you through the journey. It shows you what to do, because as I've said before, it's all our failures where we learn to grow, where we learn what we need to do, where we can go to the next level. And as strange as that sounds, it's like it's true. There's so much growth there because if you're doing great and you're not failing at anything, are you doing anything?
yeah,
Maybe you are, but are you just redoing the same thing over and over and over again?
yeah,
And you can't sustain that forever. You need to keep moving forward.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah, yeah, that's too bad, isn't it? So where can we get the books?
The books are available on Amazon. Yeah,
Okay.
or I have a limited number of ones that I can autograph and send out as
Oh,
well. So,
nice.
yeah.
Nice. Yeah, those are always fun.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So what's next for you or what are you doing?
What's next for me? Well, okay, so there's a third book in the process, third compilation book in the process. I've been going through some rebranding this year, and
Oh,
part
good.
of part of my rebranding is talking more publicly about aligning faith and business because I think that's a critical component for a bunch of people moving forward.
Yeah.
And so I will probably have a new website early next year, and a few other things like that. There's a lot of moving parts going on right now.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
Wow.
and
That's so
and
much
then
fun.
I'm always on the outlook for Christian concerts. I've uh, September 30th, I was just up at Red Rocks in Colorado and saw For King and Country up there, and
Oh, that would be so
it
wonderful in that arena. Oh,
was a wonderful concert.
wow.
I tell people that I've been to all kinds of concerts, right? And some concerts, it's all about the music. It's all about the songs, right?
Right,
Some concerts, it's about the artist or whoever it is that's doing it.
right, right.
And some concerts, it's really about the performance. And the one that
Yeah.
I put in that role is Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Oh,
they
yeah.
they do the same music, and I can't really tell much difference between song #1 and song #5.
Yeah.
But their performance is just wonderful when you go to their
Oh,
concert.
yeah.
And then there's For King and Country. and they have all three.
They're pretty
They have
amazing,
the
aren't they?
performance, they have the music, and they have the artist, and
And
it just
what a great venue to hear it in
it
too.
is a great venue. That's like what 170 rows or something like that. Each
Yeah,
row is like
yeah.
50 people across,
I mean,
and
you
yeah,
want to know what it's like at a Coliseum, like the
yeah,
Roman Coliseum, what it would have been like or something. That's
and
just
wonderful
amazing.
acoustics and everything else there. So yeah,
Yeah.
it is great. So
Yeah,
yeah.
we were just watching Petra. Um, I'm sorry, I can't remember the name. It's this guy who goes on these excavations, these journeys with other people to discover stuff. And they were talking about Petra, and they showed the arena there, and it was just phenomenal the way it was set up. I think it was the
Mhm.
Nabateans that had done it, and nobody really knows that much about them. Um, but it was just beautiful. Yeah, I mean, the sound has got to be just awesome.
Yeah,
This was before we had speakers, so you had to have it set up right so you could hear everything. And no matter where you were at, it had to sound good.
exactly.
So, oh, that's wonderful. I love that you go to concerts. How fun is that?
Well, that's something that my new bride and I just really enjoy. We enjoy traveling, we enjoy concerts,
Yeah.
and if we can do both at the same time, that's just double
Oh,
bonus.
yeah, win-win.
So,
Yeah, that would have been fun to see DC Talk when they were still together and they would go do their cruise ships. They did a reunion on that one, and that would have been fun to go as we were all going
yeah.
through a change at the time, so it wasn't possible for us to attend, but that would have been really fun, real fun to again. So I love that you're doing that. Um, so do you have suggestions for people that um maybe they're not quite ready to be coached yet or quite ready to do the assessments, but they need to do something? Maybe they should just go ahead and get a hold of you.
Uh, yeah, well, the Working Genius assessment plus 30-minute debrief with me is $100.
Oh,
Okay,
okay. Oh,
so
that's not
it's
much at all.
actually $97. And, if it works for you,
Yeah.
great. We can continue on or whatever. I also have a freebie on my website called The First Step to Aligning Your Faith and Business. And,
Nice.
it's basically, uh, well, it's just the first step, right? But you get a taste of what I do and how I do it through that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the I guess I'll kind of spill the beans a little bit. An anthology I'm doing is only very limited authors. It's not uh it doesn't have a whole lot of authors in it, I'll put it that way. But it's
Mhm.
talking about, do you include God in your business? If you don't, explain why. And if you do, explain why. And how
Mhm.
does that affect your business one way or the other? And so I'm actually really excited. I'm waiting and waiting for my authors to write their stories, but I got to give them time to write it and to put it in their words. I want people to enjoy writing their books. I don't want it to be a rush. I don't want to say, this is our deadline. You have to have it here. We've got to do it this time. And it's like, no, I want you to write what you feel you really need to say. Don't make it super long, so you don't have to make it 5,000 words, but you know, if you're going over 3,500, don't be afraid to do that. Or if you've only got 2,500, that's okay too.
Yeah.
Because what's more important is the message that you're writing, is what you're writing about. Um, and they've kind of given me a few little clues as to what they're writing about, and it's like, oh, I'm so excited about this one. This is not like anything I've ever done before, and I
Mhm.
kind of didn't want to spill the beans yet, but yeah, we're getting closer, so it's kind of exciting. But yeah, talking about that, someone came up to me and for me, I don't even think about it because my faith is just who I am, is part of me, and they said, well, how can you just talk about it like that? And I go, how can I not? It's like the very breath that I breathe, it's there. And on the magazine, there's a pastor who is writing in it. There's a young man, Albert, and he's been on the podcast, and and he's writing what his journey is like. He's a young gentleman who wants to go into the ministry, and so he's still learning. He's going through all these changes and everything that's going on. And so it's not all about faith. I've got IT people. We have things about getting to the next level. Jose Escobar talks about, the wave that lifts all ships. It's not just one or two ships that get lifted on a wave. It's all of them that get lifted up. There's just all kinds of great information to really help with your entrepreneurial journey. And it's like, but why do you have faith in this magazine? It's like, well, why not? How many people are Christians out there that have their own business? They're starting out, they need
Mhm.
need encouragement too. How many people are out there struggling, trying to figure out how to keep them separate? Well, maybe they struggling because they are keeping it separate, or maybe they've gone too overboard in it that now they're turning away customers because customers are there to learn this tool, and all you're trying to do is preach at them, thump them on
Right.
the head with the Bible. Sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody there, but sometimes you can go too far one way or the other. So you need a good
Absolutely.
balance. And I love that you do that, that you're giving a balance. I usually say, oh, there's not balance, there's harmony. But it's not a balance that you're putting in a way going one way or the other, but it's like we need a little bit of this and we need a little bit of this. It's like balancing out your ingredients in your food. We've got to take a
Mhm.
little bit here and a little bit here, and we're going to come up with this really great cake or this amazing steak or
Yeah.
something like that. And yeah, it's just,
Yeah. You,
oh,
you you talk about the whole idea of how can you not share your faith, right?
mhm.
Well, I'm a late life Christian. I actually I was 44 before I actually started really following Christ.
Oh,
And
wow.
and so and when I did, it was like I was just telling everybody, whether it was work or family or whatever, I was just telling people. And I get all these looks at work, and I'm going, what's going on,
Yeah,
But it's still one of those things where I just felt like it was the right thing to do. And so
yeah,
I've never hesitated. Now I haven't gone overboard with it, and I don't try and say, well, you got to believe what I believe.
no,
That's not
yeah,
my job, but it is my job to tell you what I believe if the opportunity shows up. And
right, right.
so I look for those opportunities, and there
And
we go.
there's so many amazing stories in there. As storytellers, boy, you want some really good stories. There's stories in there. And it's for me growing up, because I was 9 years old when I made the decision. It's like I don't like who I am. I don't like lying. I don't like taking things that didn't belong to me, just because they belong to someone else. And that was how I held on to that person. But it was then I didn't like being mean. And so, I found something that gave me a new person to be, and I really grabbed a hold of that. So for me, I grew up with it, and it
Yeah,
was part of my family and what we believed. And yeah, there's all those great stories in there, but but it's not that I'm going to go out and purposely tell everybody about it, because that's not my journey.
hmm
Some people that is their journey, and that's good. That's
hmm
good if that's their journey, but that's not my journey.
yeah,
But I'm not going to hide it, because that just makes everything a big mess. It's, you're hiding part of who I really am. And if someone's going to trust me, they're going to need to trust me all the way, you know. And if
yeah,
I'm holding back on that, it really shows through.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Something you said there made me think about another Christian concert I'd been to, which was Ann Wilson.
Okay.
The little
Yeah.
Christian country singer. I think she's
Yeah.
about 4'8" or something, but she's got a beautiful, powerful voice. And one
Wow.
of her new songs is Rebel. And
Oh.
it's a great song. But one of the lines in it is, um, if the crowd goes one way, I'm going the other. That's number one. And then the other one is, if a rebel's what it takes, then a rebel's what I'll be, because the one I follow was a rebel like me.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
And
he
so
didn't
when you
go
think
with
about it,
the norm.
Jesus was quite a
Yeah.
rebel when you start peeling back the story.
Oh yeah, yeah, and to go up against the leaders that he did, it's like, that's not what the Bible really says.
Yeah,
It's not what's going on here. It's like, I know my father, and yeah, that's not what he's talking about.
yeah,
But
exactly.
but he didn't go at it to just really break them down and tear them apart and things like that. He went at it with love and care and compassion, and he knew that trying to bulldog his way into everything wasn't going to help anybody.
Right.
It's yeah, you can't be a bull in a china shop.
Yes.
Not if you're trying to preserve the china. But yeah. Well, Dale, thank you so much for being on my show. I love the great information you gave and to help entrepreneurs get going and learning how to make it all work together. That's so great. And those assessments, they sound wonderful. I mean, it's not like taking tests to figure out if you're stupid or smart. It's got nothing to do with that. It's like, what are you really good at? What are the tools that you already have? What do you need to work
Right.
on? And go
Right.
from there. So
Right.
that's wonderful. I love that.
You know, God created each one of us uniquely, and He
Yeah,
created each one of us with certain gifts, certain talents, certain abilities, certain desires.
yeah,
And so we need to honor that because if we're trying to, I mean, even if we're serving God, but we're serving Him out of what is not our best, we're not really serving Him well.
yeah,
And if we
yeah,
don't bring our best to God, we're not making God our top priority either. And so that's
right.
one of the reasons why I say you've got to take care of yourself in order to have a good relationship with God.
You do. You do. Absolutely. I know if I don't get my morning routines in, and that's when I have my meditation, my devotions that I go through. And if I miss that, yeah, I notice it. And it's
Yeah,
not because, God's getting after me or anything, but it's because I lost my focus. I
right.
lost that mental, we do this mental discipline so we can keep going on in what we're doing. And I end up trying to do it all on my own and it's like, no, I can't do it all on my own.
Right.
There's more to it than that. Yeah, I'm surprised how many people that are very successful have this morning routine. And I did have a routine, I just didn't realize it was a thing to have a routine. Once I found out that it was a thing to have a morning routine and an evening routine, the evening routine was really hard for me to get down because it's just I just couldn't quite figure out where to fit it in. And morning was easy. You get up in the morning, you have these certain things you go through.
Yeah.
And now I'm getting okay, my evening routine doesn't have to be when I'm ready to hit my head on the pillow. I can start at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And for business, that's good because that's when I'm
Yep.
wrapping up my business. So yeah, yeah. But yeah, for me, trying to leave God out of anything, it's like, it never works out good, you know?
Yep.
And I'm trying to carry all the heavy load and burden myself. This way I can say, here, you take it. You told me you would take it, so you take it. I can't, and it's like, and he is, well, you should have done that a long time ago before it got to be too heavy for you. It's like, okay.
Mhm.
But
But
thank you,
better
Del,
late
for
than never sometimes.
that's right. It's always better to keep on, it's never too late. So, yeah, thanks for being here. Tell us again how people can get a hold of you and your books.
Well, easiest thing is email, dale@coachdale.com. It's a nice, simple email.
Yeah.
I got coachdale.com way back in 2009, so I'm
Oh,
hanging on to
cool.
that one. Website, of course, is coachdale.com. You can find me there. And I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn primarily.
Okay.
I've got links on other platforms, but I don't check them all that regular.
Yeah, no, I know I have one of those too.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, thank you again for being here, and thank you, my audience, for spending the time on our front porch here on Zoom. And we'll see you next time on Wisdom on the Front Porch. Well, thank you. Thank you, Dale. Whoops, I think
You're welcome.
my mouse keeps freezing up. Uh-oh. Well, I'll have to find a way to, there we go. Get this other one going. Oh, thank you. And yeah, if you want to be on my 52 plus new books, even though they're not brand new books, or when your new book does come out, let me know And we can do that podcast. It's just a real short one, just kind of introduces you and your book and where people can find it. It gives people the inside story, so they've got a little more emotional connection with it. And I think people really seem to respond better to that too.
Okay, that
Yeah,
sounds good.
and is it with the same anthology that you've done before, or is this one different?
It's by the same person, Kyle Wilson. Uh,
Okay, yeah, I
Kyle
haven't worked with
Wilson's,
him yet.
yeah, Kyle Wilson was the marketing guy behind Jim Rohn. So,
Okay, okay,
yeah, so he's done marketing all his life, and
yeah.
he filled up big event seminars and things like that. Had
Oh, cool.
multi-day events with Jim Rohn and Brian Tracy, and
Oh,
you know,
yeah. Well, I think I
Dennis
remember Jim
Waitley.
Rohn invited me to one of his books, and I think it was him, and it was guaranteed to be a Wall Street Journal bestseller. And it's like, but at the time I was still, pretty new and at all of this, and I just didn't have the funds for it because it was a higher price one, just because of all the other things that were going on with it. And it's like, wow, that would have been fantastic. But it's like God says, no, these are what I want you to do. And it's like, okay, I'll listen, because when I don't, things go bad.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Kyle Wilson's done like, I don't know, 14 or 15 of these books. They've
Oh,
all been number
nice.
one bestsellers. This one that he's doing now, instead of 40, 45 people, it's going to have 80 people in it.
Oh,
And
wow.
instead of six celebrity authors, it's going to have like 20.
Oh,
So
that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Oh
So it
gosh,
should.
if they have room for one more, if you don't mind, send
Well,
them my way.
I think except for the celebrity authors, and we're talking
Yeah,
about, the
yeah,
really big names like Jim Rohn or whatever. Of course, Jim Rohn's
yeah.
gone. But Dennis Waitley, has done stuff in
Oh,
these
nice.
books and such like that.
Oh,
Um,
good.
yeah, I think that's the only thing they're waiting for. But they just it was supposed to actually be out next week,
Oh
and
my, oh, so it's really,
they
yeah.
they pushed it back a month, so it's still be out November 12th. No, November 19th
Oh,
is the new
cool.
date for it. So,
Nice.
yeah,
Oh, how exciting. Yeah,
yeah.
so let me know when it comes out, and we'll make sure it gets, you can get up there and do that,
Okay.
That's, I really enjoy the 52 plus new books. It's like just so exciting to hear these stories that go on behind what they wrote in it. The gal that she has this book, The Change, but this is volume 21. She was in volume 20 and talking about her chapter and what it's done for her. And what she's done with it afterwards, but just the impact that she wants to make. And it's like, wow, that's really exciting. And I had someone earlier today who is still in the writing process, but it's like, oh man, hurry up and get that book done. I can hardly wait. So so it's a lot of fun. Yeah,
I
yeah.
understand. I wish I'd known about your book that's almost in process here or whatever, almost out type of
Oh, the
thing.
giving book.
Yeah.
Oh, there's still time if you want to write a chapter in it. And
Okay.
it doesn't have to be a real chapter. It's just whatever you want to produce. Yeah, we definitely have time. I've got a few people who are still writing theirs, and it's like, okay. But when I was doing it, it's like, I'm just a little bit short of how many pages I really need. So the book's not done until it's done. So yeah, if
Okay.
you want to send something, that would be fantastic. I would love that.
Well, let me Uh, I just did a talk. Well, I did the talk for CLA, and
Okay,
I've got the script for it. I think I could probably
nice.
take that and modify it pretty easily.
I think
So,
I'm gonna do that with mine. I did that little story of Jill and the beanstalk is in stock market. So I think I might put that in there. I don't
okay.
know.
And I'm trying to open up that link right now and see how many words it is. So what's the deal on it? Is there a cost, and how does
No,
that
no.
work? And
The giving book, there's never a charge for that one because this is where we're giving back to the world, out of all the things that we do. So there's no charge. You need a headshot, a short bio, and any links you want people to connect to you, and I'll put that in the back of the book. And then the last two books, they wanted it to go to number one. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to guarantee it, but we'll do what we can. So I'm offering that again this time, because, if they want it, well, I'll give it to them. But Amazon has really changed a lot of things, and I don't have a team like a lot of the other publishers have a team to guarantee that we'll go number one, but I'll do everything I can with what I know to get it to number one.
Well,
But
having been part of
yeah,
Kyle's system and seeing how that works there, a lot of it is making sure that everybody in the book is
yes,
posting about stuff.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's also checking Amazon on the
Oh,
day of so much because
yeah.
there's like, I don't know, 500 different categories that you
Oh,
can
there's
be
so
in.
many. Yeah.
Yeah,
And some of them have such a narrow that you have to sell like 500 books, and it's like, no, we want to go for the ones that you only have to sell 23 or maybe
yeah,
10,
yeah,
something like that. But it's getting everybody to participate and to, let other people know, and we'll try for the 99-cent one again, although I'm hearing that a lot of the books that or ebooks, they're not always 99 cents now, and it's like, okay, I'll take a look at that and see.
yeah,
But thank you for the information. I really
yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah, I just pulled it up. I mean, with all my notes and extraneous things and whatever, it's got 4,586 words.
Okay.
And that include the introduction at the front and some other things like that. So I can
Alrighty.
probably I can probably cut that down to easily 44,000,
Oh, that would be
maybe put it
fine.
on that. Okay.
Yeah, that would be really good. Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds good.
Well,
Okay.
let me do that. I'll get that sent off to you, and then maybe I can help you get it to number one.
Oh, that would be awesome. I would really appreciate that because I know there's some others who want to do that too. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll look forward to hearing what you've got or reading what you've got.
All right.
Okay,
Sounds
we'll talk
good.
to you later.
Thank you for having me on the front porch.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. We'll see you
You, re
later, Dell.
you really need a background that looks like a porch, though.
I thought about that. I thought about just going outside and doing it there.
Yeah.
But it can be a little distracting, but yeah, you're right. And I can't have a fake background because then I disappear or something. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna do something. Yep.
Yeah. Sounds
Okay,
good.
we'll talk to
All
you
right.
later.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us today on Wisdom on the Front Porch with your host, LS Kirkpatrick. You can find us on our website, wisdomonthefrontporch.com, see previous episodes of the podcast, and view issues of the magazine. Did you know you can submit questions, leave reviews, or suggest topics? You can also tell us where your favorite front porch location is and what it means to you. We hope you gain value and insight from today's or previous talks. We appreciate your support for us so we can continue to provide value and expertise to you and others. Subscribe to Wisdom on the Front Porch magazine and join in next week when we bring you another great insight into the world of entrepreneur culture and lifestyle. Make today a great day. Always believe that something wonderful is going to happen.